Trying to steal my spotlight, my mother-in-law hissed on her birthday. "You said formal," I whispered. She smirked. "Too formal," and flung red wine across my chest. I gasped, but her smug smile vanished the moment a cold voice rose behind her. "My name is Hazel. I'm 28, and I've been married to Caleb for 2 years. We don't have children yet, so our life still feels like this gentle prelude. Slow mornings, late-night ramen, dreams sketched on napkins over coffee. I work from home as a freelance textile designer. Caleb works in IT and brings me random snacks while I'm sewing. It's peaceful, warm, almost perfect, except for Miranda. Miranda is Caleb's mother, and to her, I am nothing more than a handmade cardigan wrapped around her son's potential. From the day I met her, she's been polite but sharp. "So, you make your own clothes?" she asked at our first lunch, eyes scanning my dress. "That's very earnest." She uses words like that a lot. Earnest, simple, natural. They're not compliments. They're codes. Codes for not rich, not stylish. Not one of us that I tried. I really did. I brought her flowers on her birthday, offered to help with family dinners, even complimented her perfume when it made me sneeze. But nothing ever seemed enough, and why parents are just working-class people. My dad's an electrician. My mom's a retired nurse. I didn't grow up with ski trips or Hermes scarves. I grew up with loyalty, homemade soup, and Saturday garage sales. To Miranda, that made me unqualified to marry her son. Thankfully, Caleb is nothing like her. He sees me. He gets me. And then there's Estelle, his grandmother on his father's side. Estelle is the one person in that whole immaculate family who welcomed me like I belonged. She's in her 80s, sharp as a tack, still drives, still bakes, still throws zingers at dinner that make Caleb choke on his wine. We go out for tea sometimes, just the tea. One of us. She says I remind her of herself before the family got boring, but Miranda, her favorite pastime is reminding me I'll never be good enough. And then came her birthday point one afternoon. Miranda invited me for coffee. Well, she texted me. Coffee. Noon. Wildflower Cafe. No emojis. No, please. Just Miranda. She arrived 15 minutes late in a pale green silk suit with heels that probably cost more than my entire closet. She slid into the booth, ordered sparkling water, and gave me the kind of look people give you when you show up to a black tie gala in denim. "I suppose you'll be attending my 60th, she said, flipping her sunglasses onto the table. "I'd love to," I said carefully. "What's the dress code?" She smiled, tight-lipped, the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. "Formal. Please try to wear something appropriate." "Caleb will, of course." "I'd just rather not have people asking why you look like a craft fair walked in." I blinked. "You mean not handmade?" She shrugged. "You know what I mean." That night I told Caleb. He was furious. "Hazel, you don't have to prove anything to her." "I know, but I don't want to embarrass you either." "You couldn't if you tried." He kissed my forehead and told me to wear whatever made me feel amazing, but the truth was, I didn't own anything appropriate by Miranda's standards. My dresses were vintage, self-made, or secondhand. I didn't have money to throw at designer boutiques, and I didn't want to fake a version of myself for one evening. But still, it was her birthday, her grand event, dozens of guests, high-end caterers, and meeting on the morning of the party. Caleb and I went to a high-end boutique downtown to buy her a gift. We settled on an imported perfume with a bottle shaped like a swan. Caleb paid for it. Miranda couldn't accuse me of cheapness if her own son picked it out. After lunch, we were heading back home. To change when my phone rang. It was Estelle. "Hazel, sweetheart," she said. "Come to my house before the party." I was just about to get ready. "Don't change. Just come. I've got something for you." The line went dead. I looked at Caleb. "She sounds serious." He nodded. "Go. I'll meet you at the house later." Estelle's house is across the street from Miranda's, but it couldn't be more different. Where Miranda's place is all glass, white marble, and architectural lighting, Estelle's home feels like a quilt, soft edges, hand-painted teacups, the scent of lavender baked into every wall. She greeted me at the door like she'd been waiting all day. "Good. You didn't change. Come inside." Before I could speak, she pulled me into the living room and gestured to a massive cedar chest. It looked like something from a fairy tale, polished, carved, ancient. "I want you to wear something," she said, opening it. She pulled out a dress wrapped in muslin and gently unwrapped it. I gasped. It was stunning, midnight blue silk, hand-embroidered detailing, soft off-the-shoulder sleeves, and a slight shimmer when the fabric caught the light. It looked like moonlight had been stitched into fabric. "I had this made in Paris when I turned 40, Estelle said. "I only wore it twice. It deserves one more grand entrance." I shook my head. "Estelle, I can't. This looks priceless." "It is. And so are you. Miranda wants you to dress up?" "Good." Let her choke on it. She winked and handed me the dress. Then she called in a surprise stylist, a friend of hers, apparently, who came in with a rolling case full of brushes and curling irons. "I had a feeling you'd say yes," Estelle said. Within an hour, my hair was curled and pinned into a soft updo, my makeup done with a light hand, and the dress fit like it had been sewn for me. I barely recognized myself in the mirror. I looked like someone Miranda would have approved of, except I wasn't faking it. I was still me, just leveled up. Estelle beamed at me. "She's going to lose her mind," she said. "And I, for one, cannot wait." I hugged her tightly. My hands trembled. I was nervous, not about what Miranda would say, but about walking into a room that expected me to shrink. Not this time, as I stepped out into the dusk, headed toward the glowing lights of Miranda's birthday soiree. I had no idea what was coming, but I was finally ready. The sky was deepening into lavender and gold when I stepped onto Miranda's massive front lawn. Spotlights lined the circular driveway, casting long shadows over luxury sedans. A valet tried to take my keys, but I shook my head. I needed to walk those last few steps myself. The house shimmered like a wedding cake under the lights. White stone, grand windows, music floating through the walls like a perfume. I stood at the foot of the steps, took a slow breath, and walked inside. IT was already crowded. Servers in black vests carried trays of champagne and tiny hors d'oeuvres. Crystal chandeliers gleamed above silk-covered guests. Everything and everyone sparkled, except me. I didn't sparkle. I shimmered. The moment I stepped into the foyer, the energy shifted. Conversations softened. Heads turned. For once, I wasn't the girl people politely ignored or whispered about. People actually stared, and not in a bad way. The navy silk dress Estelle had given me hugged my waist and flowed like water. My hair was pinned back in soft waves, my makeup subtle but radiant. I felt elegant. I felt like someone no one could call plain. I spotted Caleb near the bar, mid-conversation with a cousin. He looked up and froze, his jaw dropped. "Hazel." "Hi," I said, trying not to blush. He walked over slowly, eyes wide. "You look," he blinked. "Is that Estelle's dress?" I nodded. She had it made in Paris. Apparently, she thought tonight was the perfect occasion. He took my hand and whispered, "She's a genius. You look like royalty. Miranda's going to lose it." I smiled completely. As if summoned, Miranda made her entrance. She descended the curved staircase in a crimson gown covered in sequins. Her hair was swept up, her diamond earrings so large they looked like small satellites. She looked every bit the queen she believed herself to be. Her eyes landed on me, and her smile cracked. "Hazel," she said through teeth too white to be real. "You made it." "Happy birthday," I replied, handing her the gift Caleb and I picked out. She accepted it absently, her gaze raking over my outfit like a critic studying a forgery. "Lovely dress," she said, voice flat. "It's not handmade, is it?" "No," I said, smiling sweetly. "It's vintage." That clearly annoyed her. "Come," she said abruptly, hooking her fingers around my wrist. "Just a moment." Before I could respond, she pulled me out of the ballroom and down a hallway I didn't recognize. It was quieter here, lined with old portraits and heavy mirrors. I could still hear the jazz quartet and clinking glasses, but it felt far away. Miranda stopped outside a side room near the kitchen and turned to me sharply. "What exactly are you doing?" she hissed. "Excuse me?" "This." She gestured at me. The dress, the hair. Are you trying to embarrass me? I blinked. I'm dressed formally, like you asked. Don't be coy. Her voice dropped to a snarl. You walk in like a debutante and everyone's staring. They're supposed to be looking at me. This is my night. It still is. You didn't think. That's your problem. And before I could process what was happening, she raised her wine glass and splashed the contents straight onto the front of my dress. The red wine soaked through the bodice like ink on silk. I gasped. The room seemed to spin. My fingers trembled as I touched the fabric, Estelle's priceless gift now bleeding color. Oops, Miranda said, tilting her glass mockingly. Maybe next time, wear something washable. I stared at her. My mouth opened, but no words came. I heard heels click behind me. Is that how why? Oh, you treat a guest? Came a cool, clear voice as I turned. It was Estelle. Her cane tapped softly on the hardwood as she approached. Her gray hair was swept back into a bun, and she wore a simple black gown with pearls. Her eyes locked onto the stain across my chest, then moved slowly to Miranda. That dress, Estelle said coldly, that you just ruined. Mother, I didn't. Miranda paled. That gown was made for me by a French atelier in 1981. Hand-embroidered. Limited run. Worth more than your kitchen renovation. Gasps echoed behind us. Apparently, we weren't as alone as Miranda thought. I didn't know it was yours, Miranda said quickly. I thought it was just some knockoff. Of course you did, Estelle replied. Because you've never been able to tell the difference between what's truly valuable and what's just expensive. Estelle turned to me and dabbed gently at the wine with a white linen handkerchief. It'll come out, Hazel. Don't worry. I'm so sorry, I whispered, my throat tightening. No, dear. You did nothing wrong. She turned again to Miranda, her voice rising. But you should be ashamed. The crowd around us had thickened. People pretended not to eavesdrop, but the room was quiet now. Too quiet. You always criticized Hazel, Estelle continued, because she doesn't wear the right brands or come from the right family. But let me tell you something, grace isn't bought. It's lived. And she has more of it than you've ever had. Miranda's lips quivered. You're making a scene? No, dear, Estelle said calmly. You did that when you poured wine on a family heirloom. Miranda's face crumpled for a second. She tried to respond, but nothing came out. Caleb appeared beside me, eyes burning. We're leaving, he said flatly. Miranda reached out. Wait, Caleb, he pulled his arm away. No. I warned you. Estelle looked at both of us. You're coming. Home with me. I'll have the stain professionally removed. I nodded slowly. We walked away together, me, Caleb, and Estelle, through the stunned crowd, past the champagne flutes and awkward glances. No one stopped us. No one dared. And as we stepped out into the night air, Estelle muttered just loud enough for me to hear, This family has spent too long worshipping labels. Time to rewrite the inheritance. I turned to her, startled, but she only smiled. We drove back to Estelle's house in near silence. Caleb kept glancing over at me, his hand gripping mine tightly. I could feel the fabric of the dress clinging to my body where the wine had dried, sticky, cold, and yet I didn't feel small. I felt solid. Estelle broke the silence as we pulled into her driveway. I'll get the remover kit. That fabric can handle it. But you should change first. I don't want the stain setting. I nodded and stepped inside, slipping out of the dress in her guest room. Caleb waited downstairs while Estelle carefully rolled up the gown and placed it on a clean towel. I came down in one of Estelle's old cardigans and leggings she'd loaned me. I found her already in the kitchen, stirring tea. You handled yourself well tonight, she said without looking up. I didn't do anything, I murmured. You didn't need to. That's what made it powerful. I sat down across from her and watched as she poured 3 cups. She pushed one toward me and another toward Caleb. Then she fixed her gaze on both of us. I'm going to change my will, she said. My heart skipped. What? I've been thinking about it for a while. Tonight only confirmed it. Estelle, you don't need to. I do. Her voice was quiet but absolute. My collection, dresses, jewelry, heirlooms. I've spent decades preserving things of value, but I'm not going to let them rot in the hands of someone who can't tell silk from polyester. I blinked. You mean Miranda? I mean exactly who you think I mean. Caleb leaned forward. You're really serious about this? Very. She sipped her tea and leaned back. Hazel, you have taste. But, more importantly, you have heart. That's something Miranda never had and never tried to understand. I felt the tears prick again, but I blinked them back. You make things with care. You treat people gently. You didn't ask for this. And yet tonight, you carried yourself like someone who's been walking red carpets for years. You didn't need labels to prove your worth. That's exactly why you deserve every bit of what she wanted to inherit. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever looked at me like that before, with pride, with recognition. She poured wine on your body, Hazel, Estelle said, her voice hardening. And she didn't even have the decency to apologize. I've overlooked a lot in my daughter-in-law, but that crossed the line. The next morning, Miranda showed up. I was still in Estelle's house, sipping coffee and watching the rain dribble down the window pane when I heard the front gate open. Her red SUV pulled up like it owned the road. She didn't knock. She marched right in. Mother, she called. We need to talk. Estelle didn't look up from her newspaper. No, you need to listen. Miranda faltered for a second, then set her purse down with a loud thud. I've been humiliated last night. You humiliated yourself. Estelle cut in. I was drunk. It wasn't intentional. No, it was deliberate. That's worse. I stood in the corner, not saying a word. Caleb joined me quietly, hand resting at my back. Miranda glanced at me, lips tight. She's dividing this family. No, Estelle said, folding the paper neatly. You did that when you decided your pride mattered more than decency. You're giving her everything, aren't you? I'm giving her what she'll value, Estelle replied calmly. My dresses, my jewelry, my legacy. Miranda's face turned scarlet. She doesn't even understand what those things are worth. Maybe not in dollars, but in craftsmanship, in history. She understands it more than you ever have. I'm your daughter-in-law, and Hazel is my granddaughter-in-law. And more than that, she's family. For a moment, Miranda's composure cracked. Her lips trembled. Her eyes darted toward Caleb, hoping for something. Sympathy, maybe? He just shook his head. You never gave her a chance, Mom. Never. Miranda looked at me then. Really looked. I saw something flicker in her eyes. Something wounded, confused. I thought I was protecting him, she said. I finally spoke. No, Miranda. You were protecting your idea of him. But Caleb isn't the suit you dressed up or the man you imagined at those fundraisers. He's his own person, and he chose me. And you hated that from day one. Silence fell like a curtain. Then Estelle stood up. I won't have this kind of venom in my house, she said. You can leave now. Miranda's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked at the three of us, at Caleb, at me, at Estelle, and realized there was nothing left to say. She picked up her purse and walked out. No slam, no shouting, just the sound of the rain as the door clicked closed. 3 months later, I stood in Estelle's attic, surrounded by racks of vintage gowns. Caleb and I had helped her catalog everything, photographing each dress, documenting the materials and stitching. She wanted to donate RT of the collection to a fashion history archive. The rest she gave to me. Not to wear all at once, of course, she teased. We laughed. But there was something reverent about it, too. Each time I unzipped a new garment bag, it felt like opening a time capsule. These weren't just clothes. They were stories preserved in silk and buttons and lace. And with each one, I felt a little more rooted, a little more seen. That night, as we drank wine on the porch, Estelle handed me a box. Inside was a deep blue velvet case. I opened it slowly. A brooch, silver and pearl, her mother's. You don't give someone that, she said softly, unless you believe they'll protect it. I will, I whispered. She nodded. I know. As for Miranda, she never apologized. Not really. But she stopped trying to invite us to things. Caleb set boundaries, and they stuck. Over time, the tension faded into silence. And honestly, I was okay with that. Some relationships are better in the background, but one day, I received a package in the mail. No note, no return address. Inside was a dry-cleaned navy gown, Estelle's dress, and pinned to the collar was a single typed card. She didn't deserve it. You do. No signature. But I didn't need one. I knew.